if maybe we see that come out here for Weibo if they want to have a more aggressive look and jump Elk out to an early lead here.
Let's see. Let's see if the Coach Quax formula will come through here for Weibo. Last ban going to be that Rise, so kind of lose out on Premier Junglers unless you really like the Wukong. Maybe go
Rumble
the Ezreal for Ezreal Bard. Good call, though. That's why you're the analyst here, Quax, to lead me in the right direction. The Rumble, a great B1 pick here for Zika to secure that one for Weibo.
And now, I don't think BLG necessarily need to immediately respond with a top lane counter of their own, but like things such as the Cassante, things such as the Ornn are available. BLG are hovering the Zahen, which
they could go
don't want to jump
too.
too much to the conclusion that this is top lane. This could also be in the hands of Shun, but yeah, like you said, a Corki Nami is still available. That Bard Ezreal is still available, and On loves the Bard, so naturally we're gonna lock it in. Ezreal doesn't necessarily need to be paired with Bard, but you know, does have a good amount of 1v1 potential and does like to scale on up. So I think that this is a pairing you could go for, but they're going to hide it for now. And instead of going a tank, Bin on tanks, no. Loves to go in, loves to fight. Who is this guy? He's going for the Ambessa. Do want to maybe, you know, throw in that this could, it's a very small chance, but could be a flex. But this is like 99% going to be in Bin's hands here.
Does, you know, going for the Bard, trying to play the likely prior like you're talking about, Bin trying to take hands to this Rumble means that you do forfeit over the last of the premier Trinity bottom lane duos, right? Bard Ezreal is powerful in the essence of the roaming ability, but we talk about Ashe Seraphine, we talk about Ezreal Karma, and then we talk about Corki Nami, right? So this one comes through. Quick to point out, though, that so far with BLG, the most played champion for Viper has been this Ezreal. This would be his 10th game if he decides to lock this one in. I think he has to or he gets banned away, and Viper will sport the best champion in the game. No bias there. Quax to round out this Bilibili Gaming bottom lane.
Yeah, I like this a lot because it also denies things like the Vi from really being viable for Weibo because, you know, you throw that cease, got him. You throw that cease and desist on to Viper, and he's just going to arcane shift backwards and throw you deeper into the weeds. This is why Corki is also a really good counter to the Vi as well. So does limit what Jiejie can do in this game. And Jiejie was one of the, I think, really big bright spots for game number 1. He was looking very proactively in the mid game, constantly punishing those flash timers from Viper and generating leads for Weibo early on. So it's going to be harder for him this time around. The Vi ban's still going to come through, though. This does still mean that things like the Nocturne are available if we want to try and have that snap engage. I think that this could be a thing for BLG. Yeah, Wukong as well, also up. I would favor Wukong for Weibo just because it's paired up nicely with that equalizer. So being able to combo those ultimates together and look for the big team fight wombo combo is certainly a strategy they could try and employ. But Nocturne going to be taken away. A lot of jungle focus here in the second phase of bans. Are we going to see just a full 4 jungle champions taken off the board?
Yeah, we'll have to see here. It's interesting to see. It'd be intriguing to see both, you know, the junglers kind of commit to this double ban set. The Galio will come through instead. Love the Poppy ban, though, by the way. Ezreal dash and Bessa dash. Glad you brought up the Skarner. That one is still floating around. We still have the Wukong as well, right? Still out there. If Shun just wants to take this one here, I mean, I think it's just the most powerful jungler left up, so can't really knock it.
Yeah, I mean, the Cyclone is nice, but there isn't a lot of AoE onto BLG to really capitalize off of the multi-man knockups. I say that, and immediately the Annie Hover does come through. Now, if the Annie Hover does come through, then maybe Weibo could read this as being a Wukong angle and take it away themselves. I do, again, think that Wukong would be a decent pickup here for Jiejie if he still wants to have that team fight impact and pair it up with the Rumble ultimate as well. So that does still feel like a possibility. But first, we're going to get the mid laner out of the way. Yeah, Azir, generally a good matchup into the Annie just because you can outrange her. And her being immobile means that she is... she can be shuffled, so there is possibility for playmaking. Yeah, I really think Wukong is just Exodia here. It's a good denial, and it pairs well with your team. I mean, we did talk about the Skarner. This does have an AoE
people
ultimate,
on top of the equalizer?
Right, yeah. And we did talk about the immobility of the Annie, but there are other champions on BLG that can get away from that ultimate. So that is my biggest concern, is that we won't see many multi-man impales. This kind of feels like probably the most logical solution here. I mean, Mundo, you need frontline, you need initiation along with the Ambessa. Ambessa being the only form of engage for this team realistically does feel a little bit bad, especially because Weibo on things like the Corki, the Skarner, and the Azir are very easily going to be able to get away. Ooh. But the Nefiri last second. So Bin is not only your sole engage, he's realistically your sole frontline as well. Like, this is the only tanky member of your team. BLG, I feel like, have to jump out to an early lead this game. They weren't able to do it in game number 1. But if this game goes late, the scaling is better from Weibo, the composition is better from Weibo, they've got a tank, they've got multiple ways to engage a fight. I feel like this is as good as it's going to get, and Weibo winning a game here, Slayer, would be huge in trying to revitalize some faith in this team that is running low on it at the current moment.
Totally. I loving what you're spitting here, Quax. I want to kind of maybe add some extra zest, extra sauce to the Skarner pick. You look at the fact how burst heavy now BLG become, the value of a tank in Skarner that can maybe kind of nullify the burst of an Annie and a Bessa and a Fury. That's why I like this look a bit more, but you said it best here. BLG, you know, if this were any other team, Quax, I think we'd be a lot more worried about a draft like this, but this Bilibili squad, they can run away with leads early and never look back, and they'll have to do it in this game too if they want to come away with a sweep and force Weibo to a very, very worrying 0-3 spot. We'll see if they can get it done with a classic teamfight comp of the meta as we're soon to head back to Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, Weibo, I think, are really just set up nicely here to play a style that is going to highlight whether or not they're actually able to play the team fights or not, which is a concern we've had all split long.
Jeez, Bilibili and Weibo, they do not wait for these Jiejos. Shout out the BLG fans in the building, though, Quax. I have yet to hear the mics peak in a stadium for some Jiejos, and we got that there with the BLG fandom.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you know, I was talking about this in, I think, the most recent BLG cast that I covered, but, like, every team likes a winner, or everybody likes a winner, a team that ends up being, like, the champion. So I think naturally BLG being able to lift that trophy in Sao Paulo is going to give them an extra little bit of clout as far as the Jieo volume goes, as On is really just looking to flex his clout, standing 1v2 in their faces. Hong?
I was about to call out to it. Viper, in this game state, is going for the rare Ezreal tech of running exhaust, so he uses it there. Also love to see him utilize the fact that Ezreal is so dangerous in those level 1 trades because if you stack up that passive, you have so much innate attack speed, especially the lethal tempo. So go super aggressive to look for that trade, and Viper and On back into an aggressive and positive position here in the 2v2. And they have to feel a little bit nicer with the fact that, well, I guess they don't know it, Quax, but Jiejie is pathing away from this bottom lane. So no help is going to come over to Elk or Hong anytime soon.
We also saw Shun go for the classic Nefiri strategy of just straight up 3 camping into reset for the longsword item advantage. This will allow the extra power of the damage from Nefiri to come through if there is a crab fight. But looking at the waves right now, Slayer, I mean, I think it's very apparent that Zika's under his tower, Xiaohu's under his tower. Jiejie is more than likely going to be ending up on this bot side crab. So that help that you were mentioning that might be denied away from Elk and Hong, it might end up coming there after all.
We'll have to see, because they're testing their tandem with the CSing under the turret currently to try and stay competitive with Viper in the CS department. Bin getting some positive trades with the level up here into Zika. And while, you know, I am a bit worried about the setup for a Nefiri in this game, the way the lanes are going, this is exactly what I'm sure you're very familiar with, Quax. You want to be able to just power farm this champion and now look to fight over this first crab. Jiejie, there is no world where this Skarner can compete with the Nefiri at level 1, so he has to use that Ixtal impact to get away from the
What about Ambessa, though?
Yeah, the Scuttle Crab, but now he just has to look on to Bin, who does have to respect it and flash away from Jiejie, who had the stone ready to throw. This does also get Shun off of that crab that he righteously won. So
Yeah.
kind of a W at the end of the day there for Jiejie and the rest of Weibo.
You feel that Shun also has to stick around here, right? He's going to cancel the back from Jiejie, but Bin losing that flash, really wanting to push in this wave and get a reset means that the Neferi is going to have to probably stick around a little bit longer than she really wants to. Oh, boy.
Jiejie is going. Oh, maybe just trying to get away from Shun here. I think, you know what, the real win here is I'm pretty confident they denied Bin a cannon minion. So Zika, you got to get yours. Nice. Okay, there's the real win.
Yep. So Bin manages to crash the wave. Doesn't look like he wants to reset, though. Is going to push in that one, and then maybe Shun looks for a double crab because he also has his bot side now respawning because he was forced to stick around a little bit longer. The tempo is slightly offset, but Jiejie was also forced to stay on map just a bit longer than I think he would have liked. As Viper Arcane shifting forward.
Oh, he's going to eat a bubble here, committing the cardinal sin of early game Ezreal, but still able to force Elk to Valkyrie back out of there. Maybe the fact that Shun was over here with the double crab to cover is allowing for Viper to play a bit more aggressive. But for the first time in this early game, both the junglers are hovering towards this bottom side. So Jiejie, if anyone overextends, can maybe have a bit of a look here. Nonetheless, BLG in classic fashion Quax have manifested. Oh, good call. Dash from Xiaohu.
Was close on there.
Yeah, won't get the tippers. But hey, this is classic BLG, right, Quax? So there's no kills on the board, and they're cruising towards the 1,000 gold lead off lane pressure alone.
Yeah, and it just does feel like BLG have to be stomping their lane counterparts in the early game because we talked about the lack of, I feel, resources they're going to be having come late game. Bin is really going to be relied on to be not only frontline, but the guy who starts the fights.
Oh, you called it, Quax. Annie Immobile can get shuffled in, and Xiaohu does just that. Catches Knight lacking, and Jiejie's there to clean up first blood. Weibo on the board.
And right after he used the teleport as well, I mean, this is going to force Knight to likely lose this entire wave if Xiaohu can push it far enough in time. Still does hold on to that flash, but only because he probably didn't have enough time to react to the CC train of the mid-jungle duo for Weibo. So nice, clean pickup there for WBG on the first blood. Dragon now available. And Xiaohu's going to be able to go back, get some gold to match the items that this Annie has in the Lost Chapter. I'm wondering if they're going to go for Drake. Shun, though.
Jiejie is in a brush, so Ben thinks this is a 2v1, but Jiejie's going to come out here. Neither junglers have ultimate. There's the equalizer down. Public Execution trying to get away from the equalizer. Shun's going to jump on Zika. Flashes galore. Zika trying to get away from Shun. Another dash to try and find this kill. Ben's going to go after him instead. The scrap shield does not save Zika. Can Jiejie find the trade? Because Ben is just dashing away from this Skarner.
The bleed.
Needs to throw the boulder, but Shun blocks it. Accelerate back and pulls Shun back towards the turret, but Ben is out. And now the Neferi gets over to level 6, and Shun cashes in on 2.
That is a tilter. I have to feel like Jiejie assumed that the passive burn, or the passive poison, I guess, if we want to get more granular on the wording, from the Skarner was enough to secure the kill, but Bin manages to limp his way to safety, and Shun picks up not 1, but 2 kills. This is the early game that we wanted to see from BLG to make this composition work. Is we get another fight look here, and I really want to highlight Bin's resolve to hold ultimate until Jiejie shows up. He didn't burn it initially to look onto Zika. This gives him the ability to cross the distance in time to get back onto the Rumble, who's running away. And then I'm looking, 11 HP.
Oh, 14, 7.
I saw 7.
Oh,
7
man.
HP. Bin lives with single-digit health, and Shun manages to capitalize off that. Double kill for the Neferi. Beautiful start for BLG, and now a bunch of items going to come through for the Daug in preparation for this dragon.
That is exact. I mean, there couldn't be a better target to snowball on, right, out of this early game in that jungle Neferi. So Shun, he's got the Caulfield's Warhammer, he's got the Serrated Dirk, and the Longsword. Disgusting amount of early damage to come out of the pack here, wherever Shun decides to go. You called it out, though. We do have that dragon still chilling in the bot river, though Grubs as well spawning at the same time, and Shun is going to claim the top crab for now. Maybe look to try and play towards the pressure that Bin has garnered off of that top lane play as well. Is Shun going to make his way over towards these Grubs, but once again, Jiejie's in the area, and now he also has access to ultimate, so that Impale is in the cards here for any sort of scuffle. Jiejie going to ward over the wall and see exactly that Shun has gotten rid of one of the Grubs. and doesn't want to fight for any more.
Yeah. He doesn't have prio to do so. You can see that, once again, BLG solo laners are just subjugating their counterparts under the tower, as now Viper is being forced under his tower.
Ooh, good bubble there from Hong. Forces Viper to flash, both sums out. Stun comes across and onto the wall. True Shot Barrage coming through as well. Viper play on the edge of his range. Owen's going to drop him a heal. Put down a nice little cup of tea as well, or a little bit of a satiating beverage to try and get him topped off. So Viper actually comes away basically as healthy as Elkis.
I mean, on this skin, it looks like a... I mean,
it's like a coconut drink. It's like a pina colada, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Like, so I go to this resort in Mexico every, like, summer/winter, you know, whenever we really feel like it. And there's this thing called a banana monkey, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's literally just, like, a banana, like, beverage with chocolate on it. It kind of resembles that. So that's kind of what I just picture every time I think about what On puts down for his W with this Bard skin.
I like it. Learning more about Quax and how he relates to some of the intricacies of League of Legends. We did see on the story time, though, that you're going to be switched up. Jiejie, with my veteran junglers. Jiejie picks up that first dragon, so the Grubs traded back for a dragon here. Nonetheless, Shun going to show back up to the party to see if he can find something in the bottom lane with the portal. They won't find much else, so... you know, I kind of want to relate to what you were talking about, Quax, to further your tangent a little bit longer. I will never forget the one time I went to Hawaii. Everyone knows the pina colada.
Yeah.
The nice, you know, frozen beverage you can get. But out in, I believe it was Maui, they made a thing called the lava flow because it was a pina colada, but then they added grenadine and strawberries, so it turned red and it looked like lava. That was the tastiest thing one of the tastiest things I've ever had. I probably had 20 of them in one day.
Oh yeah, I mean the banana monkey that I mentioned, we were all inclusive at that resort. I had 30 of them over the course of like a week. So maybe I don't match you, but Jiejie is certainly being matched on this top side here.
I love it. On and Shun dueling up. Jiejie having to flash over one wall, installs impact, rush through another, but the tempered fate will snag him. Shun, does he have enough damage here to get through the protoplasm? The impale comes out, but Knight times the stun, so Jiejie can't drag them under turret, and Knight will score in the kill. Everybody coming up towards the top lane party. Xiaohu now going to be the next target. Good Emperor's Divide and dash away from Knight, who flashed for the stun, but now they can set their sights back onto Hong. Weibo getting split apart at the seams, but they'll only end up losing their jungler.
Yeah, they're not going to look for any further aggression on the top side when Bin is really the only guy that can get a fight started with that public execution, and they don't have ults available to dish out the damage that needs to be done against the Rumble, especially when he has Flash, and it will give him some more extra survivability. So, good pick there from BLG, just again, furthering the gold given over to this Nefiri. Even though Shun doesn't get the kill, he does get the assist, and he also gets the stacks on the Hubris, so this will allow him to be a lot stronger if duels in the next couple of minutes happen with him involved.
Elk gonna get slowed up here. Knight can't get close enough to throw out a stun, so they won't be able to chase down any further there. BLG up to about 1,500 gold lead, so the fun thing we could do now, Quax, is we start talking about what gold lead do you feel comfortable enough with BLG being able to bring home for a victory. At this point, I'd say, I'm starting to get comfortable with the idea of BLG being able to win early enough for this game state.
Yeah, I mean, it's really comforting to see that Shun is off to the races and having a really good early start on the Nefiri with stacks on the Hubris and, building into his second item already. But, I mean, again, I'll keep LARPing on it that Bin really just needs to be the guy that's ahead in this game. And even though he hasn't picked up a kill, those 2 assists and also having the Eclipse, just giving more survivability over to the Ambessa. Like, this is the guy that's going to be starting up a majority of your team fights when it comes time to actually 5v5.
Oh, there's the big anti-bomb. Oh, Anu flashing forward here. Temper Fate going to force Elk to follow the flash with his own. On will take that trade, and no key summoner off of Elk. And with Knight having access to that ultimate ability haste, Timber stuns are going to become a lot more frequent as this game goes on. But so are Shuriman shuffles on. Weird little bug there. He does end up getting shuffled back towards, but uses the portal to get out. Shun hops on top of Xiaohu to take the portal himself. Really nice ingenuity for BLG to somehow survive. Another good look there from Xiaohu.
That was really trippy. So Shun ulted on and then or ulted to a target and then immediately took the portal. So it looked seamless as well. That was crazy.
Oh, yeah,
okay, so
clean.
yeah, so Shun manages to get away. No casualties in that fight, but I do want to kind of harken back to that earlier play that On made where he traded flashes with Elk. Dragging up in about 40 seconds here does mean Ezreal becomes a significantly easier target. We can already see that Bin is going for a reset. They've swapped Knight up to the top lane, so the Ambessa is going to be participating in this next Dragon fight. If he can land that ultimate onto a Corki, and especially with no Emperor's Divide being available for Xiaohu, that guy's just dead. Elk will go down, and that has to be priority target number 1 for BLG now that they have these engage tools with the Ambessa.
We'll have to look out for that. Maybe a dragon fight will be the place to see how the targeting comes across here for Weibo to make these fights work. We have Mountain Drake, the only one we'll get this game on the map in mere seconds. Both bottom lanes jockeying for that mid lane control, but you called it out really well in the first game. The vision dominated on this bot side here by BLG. His own does take quite a licking there from Elk.
He does indeed. As Jiejie gonna start up the dragon, and yeah, BLG, even though they have the superior vision, they don't have the people here on the river. They're going to try and surround them. Bin is on a flank. Again, keep your eyes on Elk. No flash onto this Corki.
Oh, he steals it. Gets it over Jiejie. Zika TP's in with the Flame Spitter, but BLG can kite back as 4. Equalizer going to come down on Chunk pretty low. Shun about half HP. The Timbers, though, interrupts Jiejie. His Impale falls flat. Now they're trying to flash after them. The exhaust used. Xiaohu sleds himself in for the Shreem and Shuffle of Dreams. Tags both Viper and Shun, and the Dragon Steel comes at a cost for BLG.
And I absolutely love how Weibo played that fight because they understood Bin getting on top of the backline was what they didn't want to happen. So they keep pushing the fight forward. They're pushing the rest of BLG back. Bin is trying to catch up with the rest of his team, but the rest of his team, they're running the complete opposite way. They're on the other side of the divider Slayer, so they end up going down. Bin can't get involved. And like you said, it's a dragon for BLG, but nothing else comes of it.
Yeah, it was just all really banking on that steal, and BLG really gets some good interrupts here to maybe get out. This Timbers usage is so perfect. They get rid of the Impale, but the chase down here. Xiaohu's been so on point with every one of these Emperor's Divides.
Yeah. There really is nowhere for them to go. I mean, they have to run up there, so Bin isn't able to get involved in the fight. Herald was also claimed by Weibo, so I'm curious where they're going to put this, as no turret on the side of BLG is really immediately going to go down. I think mid might, as it only has
Mid
2 plays remaining. But it's hard to make a play on these side lanes without getting a kill and then transitioning that into getting the turret itself. So I feel like Weibo's really only play here is to be spawning this in mid, and maybe from there they can look for a play on sides. Zika.
I mean, Knight nearly one-shot Zika, so that will secure that first turret over to BLG regardless of when this Herald comes out. It's too little too late to secure that bonus. Still, like you talked about, breaking down mid-tier 1 is just innately valuable for how much you can really open up the map, especially those river quadrants around potential future big objectives like, you know, a Baron that is under 3 minutes away from hitting the Rift.
Or a Dragon that's under 3 minutes away from hitting the Rift as well. Only would be the second for the team that claims it, so not consequential yet, Bin.
Oh, Bin probably executes onto Xiaohu to get away from Jiejie. Already outplaying the 1v2 gank, and now he's looking to throw hands down a man. That's because he's covering for the flank. Shun coming over from one side. Knight has the stun prepared.
Flash ult.
Turret already pretty low. Tempered Fate is going to turn off the turret, so Shun can go after Xiaohu with the Fury ultimate. Got the pack on top of Xiaohu, and the first shutdown comes across. Stun layered onto Jiejie as the turret comes back alive. Equalizer from Zika. Not going to get a lot of value here. They're going to try and turn onto Shun, but the burst is there to get through Jiejie. Zika will find one trade back, but that's the only scrap BLG will give back over to Weibo, as it's a multi-kill for Knight once more.
It's traded back here for Weibo. You can see some gold is being injected into Elk, but look on the other side of the map. I mean, they've got the Ambessa still pushing because they don't have the resistance of someone like Viper to be able to start clearing out this wave. So Bin is going to get some plates for himself as well. Knight gets a lot of kills and a lot of gold in that exchange. Now the mid lane gold gap has now jumped out to about 1.1k here, Slayer. Knight continuing his dominance, and off the redeploy, BLG are going to start setting up for that dragon in about 90 seconds here. But let's get another look at this play. So Shun follows Xiaohu. Jiejie's completely split. And then, yeah, he's forced to use his W pretty early on. I think with Shun, or Nefiri rather, you really want to try and use that W for more of an escape rather than an engage or trying to look onto a kill, because that is your most reliable way of being able to avoid damage. Go figure, being untargetable. But they do manage to still get gold. They manage to get a turret as well as some plates on that inner. And now we can see Bin is potentially fishing for Zika once again. Yeah, he can be allowed to do this because there's a dragon in about 40 seconds, but both top laners crucially have TP, so the ability to join up there is available.
Like to see the itemization here from Bin. Want to shout that out real quick is, oh my god, the arcane shift forward into the exhaust onto Elk's head. Viper playing very aggressively, and well, he wins. Hong forced to flash. They've got tempo onto this tier 1 turret as everyone starts to set up for this dragon. Quickly want to get that point out, Quax. I love the Ma second rush here into a game like this for Ambessa.
I mean, I feel like it's needed, right? We talk about how Ambessa being the guy to start the fights. You need to be the guy surviving the fights as well. So anything that can allow you to live longer is inherently valuable for the Ambessa. But yeah, I agree. Bin with some really clever and smart build path here. Knight is disconnected from the rest of the team, but this Annie does damage. Anyone face checks this guy, not counting Jiejie, they probably get one shot or at least taken out of the fight because they're so low.
Bin, he gets the point execution with no setup needed because that's just what the best top laners do. Shun will claim the kill, and Elk dissipates from your screen in an instant. They also get the Zika TP on top of that. So BLG up a man with control of the dragon side of the pit. The only answer Jiejie can really find here is upping the pressure in mid lane. Maybe thinking about walking towards that dragon. No, he's going to say to sack it, or maybe he's going to try to use the herald to get here in time, but he's too little too late. And now the herald just crashes into the dragon pit. I don't know about that look from Jiejie.
Bin is teleporting. There's a flank coming out from the Ambessa. They're looking to keep fighting, Slayer.
Oh my god. All gas, no brakes for Bin. And he's found the Spring Tiger that he's looking to declaw. Good dodge on the Shuriman shuffle. Bin's locked in, and BLG are looking to wrap up the fight. Impale comes across from Jiejie, but nobody getting close enough towards the turret. Bin's holding the aggro. Bin's holding all the cards close to his chest as BLG walk down another fight.
And they're healthy enough. They're going to claim the turret too. Bin's going forward.
Bin, absolutely disgusting. He fears no man on Summoner's Rift will finally drop to the turret, but the damage has already been done. And one more auto from Viper will lock it in for an ace at 21 minutes under the Bilibili Gaming name.
That was absolutely not needed. Viper did not need to flash there, but I feel like the ace and the ego dictated it. BLG get the full 5-man wipe onto Weibo off the back of Bin's boldness. The man just doesn't know when to quit. Flank teleport coming out here. And I gotta see this dodge again. This was insane. I thought for sure he was gonna get shuffled back. Oh my god.
That is a pixel perfect dodge.
Quite literally. And then we keep on the fight here. They managed to get the kill onto Zika. And then here you're probably thinking, okay, the fight's probably over, right? We've got some blinking health bars on the side of BLG. The turret's falling. Bin flashes forward.
Night bomb in the picture-in-picture. He deletes Hong. Sorry to cut you off there, Quax, but now Elk is under potential threat here as well. Knight though gonna sidestep another Emperor's Divide. Knight wants into whatever Bin's eating down on because Xiaohu can't find any mark here. Impale gonna land and try and get some desperate play back. They do find the kill onto Viper, but Shun gonna get grabbed down in the middle of his dash there from Jiejie Zixtal's impact, but it just doesn't matter. Shun reloads on his cooldowns, and now he's looking to chop down onto all members of Weibo. Turrets be damned. BLG are pushing the tempo further and further forward as they find another 5 kills.
The train just keeps chugging along. Hong is there, but he's completely alone. BLG are going to look to break open the base. and further this game in their control. And credit there as well to Shun looking aggressively, but also Knight might have just outdone his top laner as we were really like, okay, so we have the dodge from the Ambessa mobility. That's amazing. That's cool. That's great. But then they get the burst kill on. I really want to see this proto belt. Okay. So Xiaohu just looks. Oh my god. Like,
that might be more nasty.
Who did it better, chat? Who did it better? That really whoever did it better gets the player of the game. That should be the indicator.
I like that mark. But I don't know how I can bet against Bin for player of the game. That's a conversation for a later date.
Who made Xiaohu more depressed?
That's a better question. Oh my god, Tibbers drop. Thank God for Mikhail's. That's what Zika's saying. Okay, we got Jiejie coming through as well. On's going to get pitched, but soon on the back line. He's looking to feast down, feed the pack, and Zika is the meal. Soon going to get it out of dodge, create some more space in between Weibo. Public execution again, blind and dry. Bin still finds the mark. Nice little Shuriken shuffle dash from Xiaohu to get out, but Shun used the untargetable at just the perfect time. And BLG might just look to end off this game and this series right here. Not right now. They're going to look off the inhibitor and instead look to play for the Baron, but they just can't lose a fight right now.
Yeah, BLG are just... Holy moly, the last 5 minutes have been nothing but action, Slayer, and this is the element that BLG thrive in. Constant fighting, constant team play, constant looking for aggressive angles. Weibo just cannot compete. BLG are going to secure themselves the Baron, and they're not even going to reset. Shun's at least not going to reset. He's maybe looking for more. He wants to try and find Elk. He's got ult back up, but he's not going to be able to do it. There's Dragon up in 20, and this will be soul point for them. They're finally forced to break a little bit.
Oh. All right, recalling on a ward. Not going to get caught there. Yep, they're going to finally cash in a whole boatload of gold and look to start the assault onto these side lanes. Well, Quax, you know, we were a bit worried about this draft, but what I said really resonating true before we got into that game. Most teams in the LPL, in a lot of other regions, you see this kind of draft, you are not on the blue side. But the blue side is Bilibili Gaming, and they are best at playing these sort of all-press attacks early and often. And it's exactly what they've done. 11K gold lead almost. They're on Hextech Soul Point, and they're about one fight away from another 2-0 in Split 2 of the LPL.
Yep. Really, they just need to tighten their hand around the necks of Weibo a little bit more, and they should be able to finish this one off. Jiejie looking for a Hail Mary play.
Oh, but the Impale finds no mark, and now he's up creek with no paddle. Needs the help of the rest of Weibo, but guess who they have to run away from? Juggernaut Bin looking to run down the rest of Weibo with his partner in crime, Shun. Dash after dash. There's nowhere for Weibo to go, but back to the Death Realm. Another multi-kill comes through for Bin on his Ambessa, and it's only a couple of Nexus turrets left for Weibo to cling to, desperately hoping for another shot, but that door has been slammed. It's BLG dominance as they may die in the fountain thanks to Xiaohu's shuffle, but the statement stays clear. Bilibili Gaming are still the best in the world, and they've got another sweep under their hands in the LPL.
It was the expected result, but dang, every time they do it, they have a little bit of style to add on to their already impressive play. The Proto Belt dodge, the Ambessa dodge, the Emperor's Divides just aren't landing. BLG, every time they get a win, they do it in style, Slayer, and it is entertaining every single win that they manage to get a notch with under their belt. And 2 more will be added, like you said. Weibo, unfortunately, falling down to the 0-3 bracket, but we'll have to see. I mean, we are still relatively early in the regular season, so we weren't worried about them at the start of Winter Split. Maybe we'll see a similar bounce back later down the line, but that bounce back has to start very, very soon because some people are starting to the people are starting to lose faith, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, our producer Icefire called it out. He's got our standings ready. Let's really further home that point you're talking about of where Weibo are looking at. It may be early, but yeesh. They are 0-3 I actually believe WE is technically 0-4, but the fact that they're down there with Team WE, first of all, can we just take in, I know it's early, these are some wonky Group Ascent standings compared to where we were in Split 1. What is Jiejie and AL doing down there? What's NIP doing up there, man?
Yeah, this is crazy. I mean, also, like, to see top esports, I think, this high up as well. Like, IG and top esports being high up is, I think, more surprising than JDG and AL being further down, because top obviously had a lot of roster changes between the winter split and now IG were in a similar boat. The fact that these roster constructions are just immediately having returns added to them is very rare to see. And frankly, it happening to both teams is very, very incredible.
Yeah, Quax, I mean, IG and top esports, right? 10 players embody those two teams. 7 of the 10 players across those two squads were not playing for those respected organizations a month and a half ago. That is a great point to make, how nice of a start they've made. Nonetheless, it is still very early on, but for Weibo, we got to start finding wins here, right? And there are not going to be any easy opponents to do so in Group Ascend, so it's a long road up here for Weibo as we can get back to, you know, talking a bit more about this second game. We had some positive things to take away for Weibo in that game 1, but this kind of felt like the game we were expecting to see in this series, right? BLG in front from virtually, like 8 minutes in, never looked back.
And honestly, like, it's funny, too, because we were a lot more confident in BLG's ability to win the game with their draft in game number 1. And that was the game that they definitely struggled more in, whereas we were criticizing heavily the draft in game 2. And that's the game where they absolutely stomped Weibo. So expect the unexpected for BLG, frankly. I mean, this team is still somewhat perplexing in how they operate, but yeah, for the side of Weibo, I mean, now is the time where you have to start looking to be, like, you don't have to start sweeping teams, but you at least have to look like you have some signs of life in you, and I just feel like, well, we did see signs of life specifically in game 1, really just the big devil on this team's shoulder is the fact that they really struggle at the team fights, and I feel like BLG, game 2, we didn't really even get to have team fights that were on even footing, but like game number 1, Weibo were in control for a little bit, and they dropped the ball off of some mistakes, and I just feel like if they can capture that essence that they had for like 5 to 7 minutes in game number 1, we can start to see a return to what Weibo were toward the latter half of Split 1 and playoffs in Split 1 as well. But I mean, their next match is against IG, who we were just complimenting. Like, this is a team who is
that's a fun one.
3-1 now, almost total roster rebuild. So it's going to be a tough opponent. And like you said, there are no easy opponents at this point in Group Ascend. So I feel like WBG, the onus has to be on them to improve and not necessarily relying on a team imploding midway through the split, because it doesn't seem like any team in the top 7 is really on track to do that.
No, it doesn't feel that way at all, Quax. Go through the highlights, though. Gives us ample time because we won't get to do it thanks to the new LPL format. I'm glad they're getting their awesome interviews out after the series wins. But, Quax, that means we won't get to see the player of the game here of our series. So I bestow that honor onto you, my friend. Who would you give player of the game in this one? Because you had a metric to judge it off of, actually, in fact, towards the end of this game.
That is true. Honestly, I really would like to give it over to Knight, not just because he had the sicker dodge with the proto belt. I'm sorry, Ben. Yours is pretty good. I give it like an A+, but like Knight was S tier. You know, not only that, but like, I mean, this is a player who has been dominating the LPL for so long, and people toward first stand were like, okay, BLG are winning, but I feel like Knight isn't the biggest contributor to those wins, and he has been the biggest contributor to a lot of the wins that we've seen from BLG recently. So to see him kind of, I think, take a back seat in favor of Shun and Bin really popping off, a lot of people were a bit skeptical on this guy's level and asking if, you know, this was maybe just like an off period for him. And I feel like this is a series that proved that, yes, that was a blip. That was an anomaly. I mean, this guy can still absolutely demolish you and dominate when the time calls for it. So it's cool to see a vintage Knight performance. We said we wanted to have it at the beginning of this series, and we sure as hell got it.
I like it. You know what, Quax? I guess that answers the next question I would have had for you, because we had a Knights player of the game in Game 1. You want to give Knight player of the game in Game 2. That means that there shouldn't be a debate about player of the series. You'd likely give that one over to the golden left hand as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy with the performance that we saw from him. A double-digit game worth of kills for the Mel in game number 1, and then just an Annie performance that, while not necessarily always flashy, no one was really able to get onto the backline, and he was one-shotting people and taking them out of the fights. So I feel like a lot of credit has to be levied toward him as well, and the Proto Belt dodge. You know, cherry on top.
Shout out the Proto Belt dodge. All right, well, there you go, folks. Quax has given you your player of the game for Game 2, player of the series for the whole series. I want to take a final moment as we wind down here to talk about our players of the stream that we need to shout out here, and that being our Elite Coffee supporters. So I want to say thank you very much to Aaron Soup and Among. Their pledge financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every day that we can. I used to bank on the fact that, you know, Quax, you could say every day, and we literally would be going every day, but we have actually gotten towards the end of our week here. So we are going to go on that little break, obviously, because there's no LPL going tomorrow and the next day, Quack. So
one international, and we let it get to our heads.
One single international, we start taking off some days. That's a good shout, Quacks. But hey, I want to give you the floor here just as we start to wrap things up. Any general final takeaways you have for the LPL this early into Split 2? How you feeling about the LPL? Anything you got before we get out of here?
BLG look like the best team in the world.